Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my hardcore Ironman. Wait, no, this isn't right. I don't know. This feels right. This is the wrong video. Shit. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my Ironman series. The series where we do PVM, PvP, we craft, we gather, all to work towards an 8.3 set without ever using the auction house. With a lot of discoveries made and a lot of lives lost, this is how the story continues. Alrighty, so I told you guys that in the last episode that I was going to be basically letting you guys decide the build that I was going to be going for. I would prefer something either swords or cursed. There's a few different build options in the comments already that people are liking and saying that they'd want. I have one build that's literally meant to just troll me, which I knew would happen, which is the second most voted, and I have one build that is actually interesting and has a little bit of variety to it that I might actually be able to handle. So we are going to be starting to gather the materials that we need, because I had one person recommend, I think it was, oh god, it was one-hand battle axe with an offhand. It didn't specify the offhand, I don't think. It was scholar boots, which are okay, but it doesn't really do me any good on that account, on that build. Then you gave me like a, oh god, I don't remember what the hood was. It was useless. It was a very bad build. It was just a meme build, but yeah, basically we are going to be running through and gathering materials that we're going to need to potentially start crafting the next set of gear that I use. This is a little unfortunate, and I say that because I have level 30 sword crafting right now, which is pretty good. Now, will this be the set that I try to make 8.3? Probably not, and mostly because I have level 30 in sword crafting, and I would hate for it to go to waste. So I don't see myself letting that go to waste. So, at least right now, just kind of for fun or whatever, I am going to be, okay, this is annoying, how it's like knocking them back. I have to change that passive. But yeah, I just want to kind of start working my way towards the next basically item that I'm going to be using. So yeah, I'm going to be working on that while I'm out gathering. I'll hopefully be starting to make some strides towards a few different things, but I think this is going to be a gathering week. I told you guys that I probably wasn't going to be doing 115 dungeons this week, and that's just truth. But next week, I think I'm going to give it a shot. I think it'll be doable. I think it'll be a lot of fun, especially with a new different set that I get to kind of try out and figure out and learn. So hopefully that'll be very interesting. But either way, I'm going to get to gathering and stop rambling. So while I was pretty much doing a farm run, I decided that I'm going to end up just going ahead and getting rid of my little animal thing here. So the animals are pretty useful, but I do have a lot of stuff from them right now, and I don't really have to worry about it. So you can see my inventory. You can probably already see where I'm going with this. So I'm going to use the tier 6 planks that I ended up getting, or the tier 6 logs rather. The tier 5, some tier 5 stone. I actually need to go grab some more really quickly. But I'm going to be growing my swift claws and moa birds. Now, I've been using horses for quite a while, and don't get me wrong, I like horses, they're pretty quick, but if you can't see from my inventory, I literally have 17 swift claw cubs that I have absolutely no use for. Getting tier 5 leather isn't a problem. I just need to upgrade my saddler to tier 5 and I should theoretically be good to go. I don't think there's really much more to it than that. It doesn't look like I have enough. Do I really not have an... Actually, no, I can get it right here. Never mind, we're good. Okay. So it's going to cost me a touch of money just because I have to get the blocks that I need. It's not going to be super expensive. Like, I spent 30k already on it, so there's another 30k looks like. So roughly like 70,000 silver, whatever. I'm at 66,000, so it works out just fine for me. But pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to grow these. I have a ton of meat. I don't really have a lot of clips of me doing a lot of the farm runs just because it's pretty standard stuff most of the time, but I do kind of change the things that I'm doing on occasion. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and finish building this bad boy up. And now we can grow 4 animals. I'm going to grow one moa. I'm going to grow both of the moas just because I can. I haven't really been dying as much lately just because I mean, it's been pretty safe out there, out and about. Here we go. Now we have 2 moas. Now we just got to get them some food. And we have 2 swift claws, basically. I call them saber cats, but whatever. Basically, all we need to do now is go ahead and get some food for them, which we have tons of because, again, I've been farming animals quite a decent amount. So we should be able to see, by the end of this episode, if I keep up with this, which I probably will, we'll have to see, we should be able to see a a new mount or two in the bank. That's pretty exciting. Okay, so because I can already kind of see which way the wind is blowing on the new set that I'm going to be using for the for a while. I'm not sure how long I'll be using it or if I'll use it permanently or what else going on, but either way, since we already kind of see which way the wind is blowing, I'm actually going to craft it now. And it's going to be low tier, it's going to be tier 4, even though I do have much higher tier capabilities in some of the items that I'm using. For example, the plate boots that I will have equipped, I have maxed out alongside the leather jackets as well. But I want to start at tier 4s just to kind of get a feel for the set, and I'm also going to be doing my arenas just because I want to practice with it in PvP. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to have to go and craft tier, I think it's tier 3 cursed stabs, because I cannot actually craft tier 4 cursed stabs, and I also cannot use tier 4 cursed stabs right now. So we're gonna have to get that unlocked really quickly. Shouldn't take long to do. I think I have pretty much everything I need. Yeah, I have everything in my inventory that I should need to go ahead and get that taken care of. So I will be back whenever I have the full tier 4 set equipped and ready to go. Okay, so ignoring pretty much most of the stuff in my inventory right now, we can see that this is pretty much a setup that I would be bringing into a PvP setting. It's not something that I haven't seen before. It's not super surprising either. One hand curse is very powerful, and I've known that for quite some time at this point. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and use some tomes just really quickly, mostly just so I can get up to tier 4 curse staff. Here we go. Okay, so now we can actually see what the setup would actually look like. This is the kind of thing that we're really looking at right now. Overall, this is what we would be using, right? So we have the classic Hunter Hood, of course. 70% damage reflection is pretty decent. Guardian boots is a great thing to do. The thing is, I can see myself kind of fucking this up, but I'll have to get used to it, which is what we're going to be working on right now because I'm going to be doing arena and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to queue up for arena while I just kind of... Oh, my average IP is too low? Oh, I'll just... Okay, there we go. So we have the Mercenary Hood, which just gives us a lot of healing. This whole armor set is basically exclusively about stalling. You basically, if you don't know anything about Cursed, the damage on Curse is actually kind of ridiculous. And one of the reasons why it's as good as it is because it does incredible amounts of damage over time. So for example, you're even at flat tier 4, you can still end up pulling 1,000 damage worth of burst, which is actually ridiculous. At flat 4, 700 IP, this is insane. But basically, one of the things that's nice is, like you see here, I can place a target, I can place this dot on a target, which does 35 damage every 2 seconds, so 17 DPS. This is, keep in mind, this is flat 4 with no spec, right? So we're going to be doing 17.5 damage, or not 17.5, it was something like that. Yeah, 17.5 I think is actually right. Every second, stacking up to 4 times. So we can multiply that by 4. We're going to be pulling a lot of DPS there. And we can also add on a couple of the later things. We have like things like roots. We have things like this that allow me to do damage over a channel time. We have things like this. And once we reach the maximum number of stacks, we can pull this off, consuming the stacks, and then we can start applying them again to do the damage. Basically, Cursed is really, really good for damage over time. The longer the fight goes, the better you do. And while I'm a very stand and eat damage kind of character as a player, like, it's going to be a little difficult for me to get used to this set, but we will definitely be getting used to it. And we'll be using Arena to do it. I don't really care for Arena myself, but it's going to be a good, like, it's going to be a great place to start to kind of get used to the setup. And if we get canceled here, I'm actually going to up this to 4.1. And I'm actually going to be returning to Yellow Zone, but I'll talk more about that later. So I played 2 arena games. Actually, I've just played a total of 3 today. Won all 3. The Cursed... Okay, so I really am torn between the Mercenary Jacket and the Cleric Robe. So I don't really care so much for the Cleric Robe's ability, however good it may or may not be. I like it, but the reason why I'm wearing the Cleric Robe right now is because the base damage on this weapon is just so high that I feel like just using leather armor would be a disservice to this weapon. It just does so much damage that I would feel bad if I didn't. So that's why I currently am wearing the cleric robe, and I think that's what I'm going to stick with. And I believe, okay, if we go to the cursed stabs here, let's go to like the next, let's go to this tier so we can see the shit. Okay. So I don't actually know if this is the case or not. Okay, so no, there's nothing that actually applies cursed on your auto attacks, so that's fine. But I'm looking at the W abilities, and I like a few of them, and I can't access all of them right now, of course, because I'm level 3. But I mean, if we really wanted to, honestly, we could even push that up to level 25, 24. But that's not what I'm going to be doing right now, at least not at this moment. But let's see, so we have this, which roots enemies and applies a vile curse, which is always good. Applying curse is good. We have Grudge, which can be cast on an ally, and while every normal attack I make inflicts a grudge stack, which does extra damage every second, which stacks up to 6 times. This seems what's it called? Just from the looks of it, it sounds very, very powerful. I don't know. It sounds good to me, but we'll see. Cast Dark Matter on an enemy. This keeps jumping to the closest enemy in a 7-meter radius up to 10 times, dealing 153 to every player it passes through and 76 damage to every mob. This seems useful, but unless I'm trying to 1v2, I don't really see this being super useful. Using it for clearing mobs doesn't sound terrible, but it's going to be that level 80, 75 ability, 70 ability, so I don't know. I want to use Grudge. I want to see just how powerful this ability is. And I was going to spend a lot of this video gathering, which I kind of already have. But what I'm going to be doing is I am going to go and do this last thing pretty much before I go ahead and kind of get ready for the next episode, which I have a feeling that I might do the 115 dungeons next week. I think I can do it. I think it'll be very good for this account, especially because we have the new build that I'm going to be working with. So basically, we are going to be looking at essentially taking the oh, I lost my train of thought there. I'm going to go ahead and get all of my people pretty much ready. So I actually have laborers placed down, and I've been kind of doing arenas mostly to stall. I might use my tomes before I start the 115 dungeons to try to unlock a little bit of abilities, like a couple of the random abilities, maybe even get close to Grudge if I use points, but I'm going to go and fill up a bunch of books. So if you, like, I'm actually going to start working on my lumberjack laborers, because if I'm going to be doing curse stabs, I don't know how long I'll be doing these, and so I'm going to be gathering a bunch of wood anyway, because I can use it for a lot of different things, so it's going to be a good thing to have, and I could see myself gathering a lot of it. So I went ahead and grabbed basically just a bunch of these lumberjacks. I'm going to go ahead and grab, I think, 20 books. I'll fill them all up, and it'll give me extra materials. I don't really see this being all that useful, but you know what? It's extra stuff, so I might as well use it, right? And since I'm going to be doing this stuff anyway, like, there's no real reason not to. I'm going to be gathering wood, so I went ahead and placed those guys down. They're not going to be great, but, you know, it's better than nothing, and it's free stuff, so I can't complain. That's probably what I'll do. I'll actually also grab a couple of the trophies, just to, of course, you know, have them with a little bit of extra bonus here, so that'll be hopefully useful. We'll see how far we get with these labors, but yeah, I'm going to be gathering a ton of wood. And we're going to be starting to work on the cursed setup. I like it so far. I think it's a lot of fun, and I see myself enjoying it. The damage that I dealt with the E was just very satisfying. But one of the things that I can admit is that if the E didn't do so much damage and I didn't see the burst that I dealt, the build would feel incredibly underwhelming, and you don't see the damage you do. Now, whenever I use this in dungeons, maybe I will, but for now, I don't know. We'll see. I like this build. We're going to try it out. Very excited, but for now we have other stuff that we need to work on that should be a little bit higher on our priority list, and that's what we're going to do. Alrighty, so I talked about this last episode, but I wasn't entirely sure just exactly what I was going to go on. So, due to some unforeseen circumstances that I haven't completed the dungeons yet, I actually have 251 learning points, and I intended on using these to actually get Master Quarrier because I knew I would be doing dungeons theoretically all week this week, or all week last week as well. I didn't, and so I actually could unlock Master Quarrier right now. However, since I think I'll be doing the dungeons next week, I don't see myself right now working exclusively on, I don't see myself working basically on getting the tier 7 stone right now, so I'm going to start using my learning points again. I want to start, I mean, I'm not going to use a ton because it's actually not going to, I'm not going to get that many points from what I'm doing. But I am going to turn on auto learn for the, oh my, I can't think of what they're called. I'm going to turn on auto learn for the gathering for tier 4 wood, just to try to push it a little bit farther as far as like extra gathering bonus goes, because of course every time you level this up you get 0.5% extra gathering yield. While that may not seem like a lot, and I do level this up incredibly slowly, it'll definitely help the speed. I mean, think about it this way, I only have to get 20% of the level now, so I'll be leveling up 5 times the speed. And since I'm going to be gathering a lot of wood, because I have a couple of ideas, I have a couple of hopes anyway. So yeah, I'm basically, all I'm trying to say is I'll have that turned on. I'm going to be using a few learning points on it. I don't know how many are going to be used or how high leveled I'm going to get. But bottom line is if my learning points start to disappear, that's where they're going. Alrighty, so I'm pretty sure I haven't done this in like probably 2 months, so you guys will be proud of me. I'm going to be sending out our very first pretty much set of laborers. It's been a while since I've sent out laborers. Honestly, I don't really care for laborers that much. It just takes too much work to micromanage, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just not really something that I usually do because I don't gather every single day where I'll go like a whole week without doing certain things, and you know, it just doesn't work out super well for me. But these guys will bring me some extra logs. Looks like if I'm doing 6 of them, which I am, I should be seeing an extra 150 tier 2 logs. You know, that's not terrible. I can't complain about that. We're gonna just have to see what we see once we get to the higher tiers, if I do end up pushing for that. But either way, yeah, be proud of me, guys. I sent out my laborers for probably the first time in, yeah. So I know that a lot of people are coming to these videos for the first time and they've never really seen my series, so I've done this before in the past, and I'm going to explain why I'm doing it again right now. So as you guys know, you can use runes to enchant and also roll for artifact stuffs. Well, we can actually make really good use of that on an Ironman. So first what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to increase my current set up to 4.2 with the runes and souls that I currently have in my inventory, just for the sake of, you know, having a little bit of extra item power for whenever we go out and do the dungeons starting next week, probably. Hopefully this is a setup that I use because I just used a touch of stuff on it, but basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using a lot of our artifacts. We're going to be using all of our runes, actually, to roll for artifacts. And that's because we're going to be doing some crafting soon. And you'll see here, if we get a cursed skull, we can actually make the life curse staff. I have no intentions on using the life curse staff probably at any point, but that's not really what's important. What's important is that if we use this life curse staff, whenever we're crafting, we actually get more XP per item, per material. So like, for example, let's say, we can actually Google it probably, but I'll just give you a brief example so we don't have to take too much time on this. So if I were to craft a regular tier 4 curse staff, I would actually receive more XP by making a life curse staff. But if we look here, the material cost is the same, the exact same, except it just needs the cursed crystal, which means that I will get more XP per gathered material if I add a life curse staff. And because gathering is very time consuming and I see myself getting a lot of runes next week, I don't think it'll be a problem to go ahead and start burning through some of these. I will be using my souls to do the exact same thing as well, but I'm going to be melding these for a while just to kind of add to. We actually have a ton of artifacts actually already in my bank, but yeah, we're going to be getting a ton of these, and even though we're not going to be using a lot of them right now, again, in the future, there is a pretty decent chance that we will be using them. So I just wanted to kind of go over and explain what I'm doing and why. For the sake of those people who are new to the series and don't really get a couple of the things that I do and why, for those of you that are new to this series, I really do recommend you go back and watch the entire thing. Not because I want you guys to increase the view count, which I totally do, by the way, but mostly because I get a lot of questions asking about like why I don't do certain things, or hey, you should do this, whenever I actually already do that. I just don't do it in the episode that they watched the first time. So maybe go check that out. Check out my older episodes, and I do have a playlist on my channel that has most of them in there. It should have all of them, but I forget to add them, and so right now there's most of them, so check it out. But I'm going to be using these to get as many artifacts as I can really quickly. And yeah, we're going to not do the crafting probably right now, but that's okay. Alrighty, so 6,000 extra nutrition tossed on in there. We can go ahead and craft the last few of our staves, whatever you want to call them. And I'm actually going to go ahead and turn on auto learn. No, I changed my mind. I'm not gonna. I don't think it's really worth it. So I'm actually just gonna go ahead and craft the last few that I can of just regular one-hand curse staves. I might use these. Probably not, but it's a possibility, of course. It's always a possibility. Is he already out of food again? No, I'm out of resources. Okay, thank God. I was about to lose it. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and study what we don't plan on using, which is the majority of this. And we're going to be pulling 54,000 Cursed Staff Fame. Pretty good overall, which puts us up to level 5, level 6. Now, I don't really need level 10 right now, but I will be grabbing that rather soon. I do have a ton of materials to work with, which will be what I'd be doing later. Although, realistically, right now that's not actually necessary because I'm going to be leveling up my setup that I'm currently using before we even go out. And I've decided on this because I want to get some spec before really running dungeons. It'll just give me access to a few different abilities and stuff like that, and it'll just be nice overall. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and use all of my silver bags. I don't actually have that many on me right now, and I will be organizing my bank just a little bit better for the sake of the next episode. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just use all of my tomes, which will see us getting a pretty solid increase in a total, basically it'll give us a pretty solid increase in average IP. So we're just going to go ahead and burn through these really quickly and see where we end up. And we're also going to be keeping auto respec on the entire time, so we should hopefully see a few points. Now, theoretically, if I wanted more auto respec points, I would put on this set that I pretty much already have maxed. However, I want spec in the things that I have equipped. Although I could also come up here or actually go to the torches, because I think I am going to use this crypt candle, at least for now. I actually think I already have shields rather high up there as far as mastery goes. Okay, actually 45, but realistically, maxing that out takes nothing. And so let's go up to torches really fast. Okay, so I actually have Mist Collar maxed out almost, which is kind of weird. I don't really... Yeah, anyway. I could put some points into this and just max out Crypt Candle, which I think I'm going to do. It's probably stupid, but it's super cheap, and it also means that I will be getting more from my auto respec while doing this. So actually, I'm not getting very many points right now. 87,016 goes up to 87,136. I'm actually only, even with auto respec turned on, I'm only receiving 12%. That's pretty damn low, boys. That's okay. Just means that we're not going to be spending as much silver, but we will get there. I'm going to go ahead and use all this, and then we'll see where we end up. Oh, wow. Okay, so through using all of our stuff, we actually ended up pulling level 30. 32 Warlock. Very, very nice. We also got 17 in Cursed Staff Combat Specialist. And if I remember correctly, I know we at least have a tier 5, and we have a tier 8, and we do have a tier 6. Okay. Awesome. So we actually have a flat tier 6 curse staff that we will be using for these dungeons, which is always good to see. You love to see it. I was really hoping to get Grudge, although it does not look like I will be getting that unless I get all the way to level 40, which I think I technically could. Now, I have to look at the other abilities before I decide on exactly what I'm going to be doing. But either way, let's go ahead and check a look at some of the other stuff. So we ended up getting to level 51 Leather Hood, which is always good. We got to level 72 Cloth Robe, and of course we were already maxed out with our boots as far as the mastery, But for the specialization, we're up to level 48 with the Guardians. You love to see it. So now our items are rocking pretty high IP. Looks like we get a plus 43 mastery bonus for the staff, plus 62 for the robe, plus 143 for the boots, plus 67 for the hood. So overall pretty decent. Of course, the Crypt Candle is gnarly right now with a mastery bonus of 255. Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, is this probably the most ideal thing to use? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it might actually be better to use a Mist Collar, but right now, I'm going to test this out and see how it feels. And we're going to be going and testing the very first of our 115 dungeons. This won't actually count for the video, of course, but we're going to be running into Yellow Zone, mostly just because I want to see... actually, I could probably run into... Yeah, I'll just run into Yellow Zone and just kind of run a couple dungeons just to see how it feels. Kind of get a feel for the idea of how I want to clear these dungeons. So we're going to probably just do a half hour, and then I'm going to tell you guys how I felt and how it felt to do these dungeons. And then I think we're just going to go ahead and set up. I mean, I didn't actually do as much crafting this episode as I expected to, but honestly, I'll be doing it eventually anyway, so no big deal. And of course, we will be starting very, very soon on the 115 dungeons that I did promise you guys, and I will do them, so don't you worry. And it's going to be very nice. Today is, I think, Wednesday. Yes, and I'm going to be done with the video on Wednesday. Oh, that's crazy. I actually have a whole day to edit and just fuck all. Awesome. Means I actually get some extra time for next episode, which is always good because it feels like I might need it. So I'm actually also going to be bringing poisons. Mostly just for the bosses. I don't think I'll actually have a problem with the bosses, but just in case, I'll be bringing a few. So, you never know. I don't know how well this is gonna do, but I think Cleric Robe Hunter Hood, if I remember correctly, well, I'll get into it later, but for now, I'm gonna go test some Yellow Zone dungeons just to run them and see how they feel. Basically, I ended up transferring over from doing regular dungeons to corrupted dungeons because I wanted, of course, the 1v1 PvP where this build theoretically shines. I thought it was okay. I went 2 for 2. I went 2 for 4, so I won 50% of the fights that I did. I would have gotten more kills if I wasn't wearing Guardian boots, because my thing that I hated about this build that I ended up having to change before I did anything else. There's no mobility on this build whatsoever. And so if they decide to just run away from you, there's actually nothing you can do. Even with the snare, like, you can be on top of them, but if they have any type of mobility ability on their boots, which most people do, there's just no chance that you're going to catch them. And I lost at least 2 kills because of that. One of them got away with a literal sliver of health, and one person I actually thought was going to die because I had my curse stacks on him and he had a poison. And he was just that low HP, but he ended up surviving and clearing crystals. So I found it pretty boring overall, as far as, like, there was just no chase potential and there was no escape potential with this build. You only win fights if they sit there and fight you. And I actually ended up doing about 15 dungeons in the next episode before I ended up switching back over to dual swords, mostly because the way that the build played just felt underwhelming. In dungeons especially, it just wasn't really meant for them. It killed bosses incredibly quickly, but it's the same pace as my dual swords, and the dual swords feel better, and I know how to play them better. I'm much more confident with them, and I don't die as often to mob packs, because the damage that Curse does is over time, and it ramps up by a lot over time. But you have to get to that point in order to do the damage, whereas I have burst and consistent DPS to multiple enemies whenever I'm using my dual swords. So dual swords is actually probably faster than cursed, but the cursed felt okay for bosses especially, which is where dual swords does kind of meh. But I think I'll maybe making some I guess I could say optional changes to my build. I'm not entirely sure yet, but either way, I don't really have too much else for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was kind of a long one, but I went through and just talked a lot about the curse build, and honestly, at this point, like, I'm not really even using the curse build anymore. I told you guys that I wanted to try out builds that you guys had for me, and I did, and it wasn't meant for clearing dungeons, and I wanted to use it to clear dungeons, but it's just not good for it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be using this setup in the future, because it wasn't actually that bad. Once I get a little more familiar, maybe get some spec, I wouldn't mind using it out in the wild, but right now it's just not something that I have interest in. However, I really do like the idea of cursed, but I don't know if one-hand cursed is the type of cursed stuff that I would be using especially to clear dungeons. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one, and have a good day.